What up, fam? This your boy J Cub. We're so excited you're here with us today. Listen, we just came out of an amazing family conference at Hampton University this past weekend. If you missed it, you missed it. Whenever we say we're gonna be live, you need to make sure you come and see us. And in that vein, if you have an event or a venue that you want us to come support and you want us to be part of that panel discussion, all you gotta do is contact us. The contact information is on the screen right now. You can hit us up and we'll be there. But until next time, check out one of your favorite shows that we have been dying to share with you. So check it out.
All right, y'all. It's the time of day that you've been waiting for. It is the one show on air that will take you from the boardroom to the bedroom, from politics to the pulpit, and everything in between with your favorite friends. You are about to join the crew for Fresh Fire as we do what we do all together. Tune in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the crew here on WHOV 88.1 FM and all our social media platforms. Let's just go ahead and get this out the way. This is Alvin. This is Tom. Jason, producer extraordinaire. Sia and Ray are not here with us today. Last show, man, you dropped the bomb.
Right as we were leaving.
I mean, listen, man. If they didn't hear the last show,
they need to go back and listen to it.
They do.
That's what they need to do.
But can you give a quick summation and then you drop the bomb? We're going straight into where we left off, man.
So we were talking about the allegations of an affair between Fannie Willis and
Nathan Wade.
Mm-hmm. And for those who don't know who Fannie Willis is, she is the elected DA for Atlanta. I think it's Fulton County that she's the DA for. And so apparently there has been some allegations that her relationship with Nathan Date, who has been appointed as a special prosecutor.
Correct.
His background is not prosecution.
No, it's
His
not.
background is not criminal law.
Sure
His
is not.
background is civil.
Yep.
And family law at that for some personal injury. But he has been appointed, and according to documents that has been filed by one of the co-conspirators or alleged co-conspirators in the
Mike
RICO
Roman.
Act that has been alleged in the Trump prosecution, they state that she has been having this improper relationship with Nathan Wade, and that as a result of that, she needs to recuse herself from the prosecution, and her office needs to recuse themselves from the prosecution. And so the question came up at the end, because we discussed it was so layered, that conversation. But at the end, there was a conversation that came up about, well, could a white male get away with what she did because of there's been, differences in how people are treated in America. We know
the
that.
application of
and
justice.
The application of justice. And we even, Al, you mentioned about Trump making a statement that if I was to shoot somebody in broad daylight in New York Times Square, I could get away with it. And he said that, and basically that's how he's treated. So you said at the end of the last show, well, you believe Bill Clinton got away with the Monica Lewinsky situation. And
he did.
And well, that was what you said is Clinton got away with it. And I said, no, he didn't. And you said, yes, he did. I said, Hillary did. And that's how we ended the show.
Sure did not.
Hillary did not. Hillary took that beat down for him.
So you're suggesting that Hillary suffered the consequences of his infidelity?
Absolutely
for sure.
suffered.
By what? By how?
For sure.
Because she stood by her man when that went down, and people hated her for doing that when things came out, because they saw her not as a protector of her family, but they saw her as a bully. And because
and
they
a betrayer of women.
And a betrayer of women. And so because they saw her as a bully and a betrayer of women, they used that as more ammunition. Already they did not like her. There was already a propensity to not like her. But that came back up on the 2016 presidential campaign trail. They came back up big time during some of those, if you remember, some of those debates that came up. And Trump utilized that.
He sure
and
did.
If you look at the numbers
and
you look at the data, white women were the swing votes.
Correct.
Yep.
So let me get this straight.
They abandoned
you
her.
All
they abandoned her.
You all believe that Hillary lost because of Clinton's adultery.
I think it added
No,
fuel.
yeah, I would agree with him. I think that it was she anticipated having to fight her own fight,
Correct.
but she did not anticipate having to fight his fight. She was ill prepared for that.
I thought she ran a bad campaign. I thought that she couldn't connect with people. It had nothing to do, in my opinion, with Bill. But she overestimated Trump. She didn't think that Trump had a chance. Underestimated.
Yep.
But Trump. You put all of that together. That's why she
Trump
lost.
And Obama
did
she
not have a chance. Can I tell you who gave him his platform? The media. The media gave him his platform because what they did is they thought he was a clown. And so because they thought he was a circus clown, a reality clown at that.
Media doesn't do it.
Well,
they don't do votes. But let me tell you how Trump.
They don't. But
they influence them. They greatly
you can't throw that out there like that.
Yes.
We got to deal with that.
Let me finish my statement.
Okay, well, make your statement, but put a pin in that.
Pin right there.
Put a pin in that.
Media has impact, but what really influenced Trump in 2016, let's just be honest, was the evangelical community. The evangelical community
put him over the edge.
Because when he promised to get Supreme Court justices on the bench to overturn Roe v. Wade, that was
several of them were saying that. So you can't say that. No, several of them absolutely were saying that.
But they embraced him. The evangelical community.
I'm gonna tell you why
more
they
so than
embraced
Hillary.
him. But I'm gonna tell you why they.
They weren't embracing her at all.
But you're talking about in the general election. He would have never been a nominee. Is what I'm saying. You can't even get to the general election before being a nominee. I'm saying he would have never made it to the nomination. And the reason he would have never made it to the nomination is because he would have ran out of money. Because no one thought that he had a chance of being the nominee when it first started. But you have even liberal-leaning media like MSNBC, NBC, you had CNN, all of them who were liberal-leaning at the time. You had them bringing him onto the show. Airtime, with Morning Joe.
Because he has ratings.
No, because they saw it as entertainment.
Ratings.
I get that. But they saw it. But here's the thing. Ratings and preparation for being the most powerful person in the world are two different things. And when they realize that what they had done, then all of a sudden they start backtracking and they tried dogging him out, saying, you know what, no, he's horrible, he's this and he's that. But it was too late. Because the money that the other candidates were spending to get themselves visibility, he was getting it for free. He didn't have to spend a dime for any advertisement, and it is extremely expensive to run a campaign on that level.
So let's not get too sidetracked.
Okay, but they set him up. I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, they did.
They set him up, and then by the time they wanted to pull the sheet from under him, it was too late.
But again, this original topic was around Hillary.
Yeah, it is.
Not him.
Okay.
And she lost because, in my opinion, she underestimated him. She had a lead at some point. She ran a bad campaign. She couldn't connect with certain people. That ain't got nothing to do with Bill's infidelity.
She lost in swing states.
That ain't got nothing to do with Bill's infidelity.
She lost in swing states.
I would
that
argue,
has nothing to do with her.
But I would argue
look at the numbers.
that as a woman, the things that contribute to our likability or not go beyond just us. We judge, as women, we judge other women based on we are the worst. Okay, so while we talk about what's happening to us, because that goes back to the Black community, is it what's happening to us or what we do to ourselves? Women, we got the same problem. It's not always what's happening to us from men. It's also what we do to each other. Death by friendly fire as a woman is so common.
Yes, it is.
It is not the men that are often destroying us. It's we destroy each other. Because those of us who do get access, we hop in the door and then we shut the door behind us because we know that there's so few seats at the table. You get competition instead of collaboration. And when you get your C's confused, everybody dies like cancer. So the part of the thing, though, as a woman, is part of our judgment over the kind of woman you are is your ability to keep a man. And because she couldn't keep her man at home, she was already going to get whether we like to acknowledge it or not, there are things that we don't like to be honest about as women, but we were already looking at her sideways. And to make matters worse, there's some of us who would not say it on a live mic, but based on what we perceive to be her coldness. Many of us actually thought Hillary was a lesbian, but what we perceive to be her coldness even justified his adultery, and only further stimulated why we didn't want to vote. So many of us didn't vote for her. So many of us didn't back her the way that she thought that she would have that kind of support. And she was not prepared to be able to answer the questions about her husband. She was totally prepared, because I will say, for all of Hillary's flaws, she's highly intelligent.
Yes, she is. Yes, she
There's
is.
no question for me about her level of intelligence, her ability
and
to
her preparation too.
Oh yeah, oh no,
Secretary
she
of
was.
State.
Oh yeah, she was. She legitimately on credentials
alone,
she could have done this thing
absolutely.
easily. But the problem was her, and to your point, she was unable to connect. But what we're saying is part of the reason she has some connection issues. One of those factors includes the affairs. That what Bill did, she is still carrying. And we still talk about her when her name comes up. We still talk about her with the tint of that past on her.
Okay, so let me raise a broader question, because it really isn't just about Hillary.
Yeah, no. It's bigger than that.
So going back to Fannie Willis and this whole conversation. So are you saying to me that if a husband commits adultery, that the wife suffers more the consequence for the infidelity than the husband?
Not necessarily more. But she suffers from it also.
So what consequence did Bill suffer for the infidelity? Not Hillary, Bill.
So, now remember the word consequence, people assume that always means something negative. It just means the outcome of the response to the result of, right? So good decisions, good consequences, bad decisions, bad consequences. But sometimes bad decisions, good consequences. This is what I mean by that is Bill did that, and we, people of color, embraced him as the first black president.
Yes, we did.
Because he was, I won't use the word, but he was running chicks through the White House. So there's a way in which there were consequences to it that were unexpected, because you would think that that immoral conduct would have ruined you, but much like Trump, it actually elevated him in certain spaces around certain folks. But the consequence, yes, he went through the impeachment trials and I didn't ever touch this woman and this, that, and the other. That may all be true. It didn't ruin him. It could have, but it did not end up ruining him.
And the reason why we're having this conversation is because my statement in the last show was things play out differently.
It works out differently for us.
For black people.
Yes.
Right? JFK was another president.
I was just going to say that.
Who was a common womanizer. It was
absolutely.
It was different times too.
Before Me Too movement.
Yes.
Yes.
It was different times.
Both of them were before that.
Both before Me Too movement.
Yep.
Because now we're in this Me Too movement. Things are...
They are different now.
They are different.
Yep, they're different now.
Let's talk about Victor McMahon. That's what I'm over here pulling up right now.
It's different.
You always talking about, I'm sick of all the lawsuits and no prosecutions for criminal behavior. But guess what? He is under federal investigation as we speak right now for human trafficking.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Vince
that's
McMahon
criminal.
Was
not civil.
He was the poster child for wrestling, professional wrestling.
Yes.
Yep.
And even in our own group chat, we were talking among each other, and we were like, what's going to be play out? And I said, because I call it. I'm 100 for 100. By the way,
this one's gonna see some.
Yeah, I said he gone. I said,
that's what you said.
I said, matter of fact, I think it said he toast. He toast. I think I said,
that's exactly what you said.
I said he toast. And right after that, I mean, what was it, minutes or about an hour or two?
Just let the record show.
Yeah, let the record show. That brother resigned from everything. Because that board, because I could see it in their response when the lawsuit came out. They responded. When I say they, the board And the parent company, they were like, well, we take these charges and these allegations very seriously.
Yep.
And we're going to look into that. And we are going to, and they call them heinous or horrific charges.
Horrific.
So they were already describing what the accuser said as horrific. And they're like, we take it very seriously. Vince McMahon, on the other hand, was like, she lied. The truth ain't in her.
Whatever.
She had receipts.
She did.
She had
God bless these women.
That's why they had her
God
sign
bless
a
these
$3
women.
million non-disclosure. And can I just say this?
Didn't even give her $3 million.
That's the problem.
They gave her $1 million.
That is
had they paid her.
Problem. Had they just paid her, but he was greedy.
Yep.
And had he just paid her, I'm telling you, I don't think
now
we
it's going
would
to
have ever
cost him
seen
everything.
it.
Yep,
I don't
it's going
think
to
we
cost
would
him
have seen
everything
this.
because he
And
wanted
let's
to be
just-
greedy.
can we
Trying to
just-
cheat her some more.
Yep.
And
So you're going to violate me twice.
Twice.
Okay.
And listen, to honest, we need to say, just have a moment of silence on this because Jason is an avid wrestling fan. And since this news came out, he's been devastated.
I told him to get over that because I said
we
he's
just need
toast. He said, "No, Tom, he coming back." I said,
Jason,
"I'm not
not
going to waste my breath."
Not
You
this
got a
one.
mic,
I
Jason.
said, "I'm not even going to waste my breath on arguing this." I said, "History is going to prove me
As your
correct."
friend and brother, I'm here for you, man. And it's
All right, so let me go on record and say that I said that to you, Anton, because I had not seen the indictment or the paperwork.
Okay, all right.
Once I read, it's like 67 pages.
It's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
When I read it and I saw the text messages, and one, I was hurt because I thought Vince McMahon was intelligent. But when I read the text messages and see how he was misspelling words, yours was your, but like the vulgarity that was associated with it, I thought it was just more of a, not that any sexual assault is okay. I thought it was more of, men being men in the locker room and saying inappropriate things and maybe a little touching. But, to see that he defecated on her allegedly.
I heard that,
and did other things with Mr. Laurinaitis, and also talked about a UFC fighter who we know to be allegedly Brock Lesnar. The WWE has cut ties with him. They've taken him off 2K24 game. And when they started doing stuff like that, that's why when I read it, I came back and I apologized. I'm not like Kevin Swan, who doesn't
He
admit when
will
he's wrong.
apologize. Yeah, he'll just stand by his statement.
I
His
apologize.
wrong statement. He'll
But
stand
I
by
was-
his wrong statement.
I was
Look,
deeply hurt.
so let me make
Trump
a
never
distinction here.
apologized.
Wrong statements. Okay.
Jay, we're here for you, man. But listen, let me make a distinction here on this show because what we're not talking about are criminal acts.
Yes.
Right? Fannie Willis was not a criminal act.
No.
It was a
Consensual
unethical,
between adults. It's just an issue of judgment.
and this is what I'm saying. In these situations where it's not illegal, because if it's illegal, yes, Me Too movement has changed all of that. McMahon, Diddy, black or white, if you did it,
You did it.
and I can get a
And you
civil settlement,
deserve the consequences
I'm
associated.
going after you. But when it comes to immoral, unethical, it still plays out differently, in my opinion, for blacks and whites. That's my argument.
I'm not going to say yes to that. What I would say, it depends on who the person is, because people will protect who they love. And if you are powerful enough and connected enough, whether you black or white, if it's just an ethical issue, you can still get protected even in your ethical situation. Let's talk about Jesse Jackson.
All right.
Because Jesse got a baby. Jesse got a baby mama. Okay? And I know the room is quiet, but I don't care. Jesse got a baby mama.
Yep, he does.
And guess what? People still love
Same
Jesse.
with Minister Farrakhan.
Come on. And people still love Farrakhan. So it depends on who you are and what power systems are set up surrounding you that can protect you.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you directly. I'm going to ask you both.
Okay.
You're a black man, Commonwealth attorney. If you were a white man and you had an affair, do you think the fallout of it would be the same as if you were who you are now as a black man?
Absolutely not. Can I tell you why? Because I'm here because God put me here. So as a result of that, if he removes his umbrella of covering and protection from me,
God
I'm
help
toast.
you. God help you.
God help me. I'm toast. So, because I have mine is layered. Mine is not just a black man. I'm a black man of the cloth on top of that,
And representing the
and
law.
representing the law
Correct.
and the Lord.
Yep,
So
yep.
you have multiple layers for me. I would just be toast, dude. I would be toast.
For the purposes of radio,
Okay, for the purposes of radio.
can you separate the Lord in this
Can I
question?
separate? Why we always got to separate the Lord?
For the purposes
the Lord,
of radio.
The Lord,
wheat
the
and the
Lord
chaff.
is saying right
Because
now.
in this case, no, because
the Lord is saying, I'm sick of you always trying to take me out.
I love the Lord.
I know you about to say it.
But for Fanny's sake, we don't know where she is with the Lord.
Right.
No, we don't.
Right.
Okay.
We don't.
So that's why I'm saying.
Right. We'll just talk about the facts, not the faith.
Can you
in it.
separate the Lord in what I'm asking you? As
So
a
me
black
as
man,
a black man,
in your position,
no faith, just black man.
if
Just
you
your
had
role.
an inappropriate relationship, would the fallout, in your opinion, be the same as a black man in this position if you were a white man?
It depends. And can I tell you why it depends? Because the reasons why some of the individuals who they had a negative fallout, like Kilpatrick and Jesse Jackson Jr., and it was a brother that was down in New Orleans. I think he was the mayor, or he may have been a congressman. I can't remember. But the reasons why they had different outcomes is because there was a criminal element attached to it. A lot of these people, what they do is when they have these affairs, they turn around and they use campaign funds to
Subsidize and fund, yep.
to subsidize their affair.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, you go to jail for that kind of stuff, and they went to jail for these things.
Right.
So I honestly believe if I am connected a certain way with certain individuals in the power echelon, I'll be fine. And I'll tell you why I'll be fine. Because there are people who I really believe if they did certain things and they are black, I think they will be just fine. Simply because they're not people of faith. So there is not their base is not going to be the church, so to speak, or the base is going to be people of faith. They may vote for them, but nonetheless, that's not the base. But because they're so connected politically and they're so connected among others who are powerful entities, I don't think people will look at them. And I'll give you a good example. We know someone who has been charged with a crime and they are well politically connected and they are a very powerful person right now, in the state. And not to say that they were guilty of that crime, but just to say they were still charged. And so it depends on the person.
So in your estimation, political affiliation is greater than race when it determines the fallout of a person when they have committed a moral or unethical, not a criminal, but a moral and unethical situation.
I think power
affiliation is higher than race.
I think so all day long. If it's moral. If it's criminal, it's different. But if it's moral, I absolutely believe if you are powerfully connected, you can get away with some stuff. You can absolutely get away with some stuff. I think that's why Diddy has gotten away with things as long as he's gotten away with it. And the only reason I truly believe the only reason that I see his face like Kanye went down is because he talked about Jewish people. He'd been talking about black people forever
and then nobody
saying
cared.
that we love slavery and we benefited from slavery and the whole nine. And we, black people, were buying his shoes still.
$400.
Yeah, but it wasn't until he came after Jewish people, and when he came after the market system, he came after the banking system. He felt that immediately.
Yeah. Al, I'm gonna ask you the same question. All right.
Immediately.
David Chappelle teased about that.
Yeah.
Stand-up.
One thing about David Chappelle that I like about David Chappelle tell the truth.
He does.
He tells the truth.
He
Boy,
does.
does he ever.
Yeah. Now it's an uncomfortable truth.
Yep. And he does it so well, though. He does it better than anybody else
It's an
does.
uncomfortable truth, but he tells the truth about everybody.
Everybody. Equal opportunity.
And he's an equal opportunity. And people like to say, well, he's homophobic or he's this or he's that.
He is.
He just tells
He's fair
the truth.
across the board. It doesn't matter who you are.
He's like, nobody is exempt from me talking about your situation.
And he's brilliant.
And he's brilliant.
He is
He
brilliant.
went after the handicaps the last
He did.
one.
He was like, he said because they're less organized.
He said
They're less
Handicaps, man.
organized. He said he
Can't do
got to
that,
leave
man.
the LGBTQ
can't
alone
do that,
because they're
man.
too well organized because they'll come for you. He's like, but the disabled.
No,
Y'all,
he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
He went after
Yes, he
handicapped
did.
people, man.
I mean, it was all jokes, but I mean, like, but
to your point of him being equal
Yep.
opportunity. Now, Al, I'm asking you the same question. You know how hard it is for a sister in corporate America, whatever. If you had an affair as a black woman, not nothing illegal, do you think the fallout would be the same as if you were white?
at my level,
At your level.
do I think that the fallout would be the same?
But that ain't the question you asked.
That is the question I asked you.
Well, I did. Well, you know what? That's right. You did, and I
Same question.
and I talked about.
Yeah,
You said
you
it
said
depends.
it
You said
depends.
it's
Yeah.
power,
The power
and political
yeah,
affiliation.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
I'll give you
So I'm going to
that.
ask you the same one.
I think because of the uniqueness of my situation, I think that it would look different. And it would look different because I think for my role, just me, I'm a little bit of what people would probably consider a little chocolate unicorn. You know what I'm saying? And in the sense that I am in my 40s, I have 2 PhDs. I've run a successful business for over a decade. I've been married for for over 25 years at this point now. I mean, like the combination of things, and I come in a certain package, and it's palatable, you know, across cultural lines and all. What it would ruin for me is the ability to maintain that kind of status, that as a white woman, I wouldn't have had that status. It would have been different anyway as a white woman. Like, as in, those things might not have been perceived as so special if I was a white woman. So the fact that you are, you know, that I am kind of a unicorn, I'm required to maintain the special. And I'm not equating myself to Will Smith, but it's just that when white America chooses you or supports you as kind of almost colorless. I mean, they use your color when it's useful. They don't bring it up when it's not. But like, you get to be kind of colorless, and you're allowed into certain spaces and certain rooms that generally most of us don't have access. Part of the reason you have all of that access is because you check so many good boxes that it's good to be associated with you. And then, but if I were to do the kinds of things that would affirm the stereotype, I would lose the kind of access and opportunity that I have. The reason why I think it would be different for my white counterpart is that they never had to carry all of that stuff in the first place. They didn't need to have all of those special boxes to get to the table in the first place. So if they do something, you know, it's not as big a deal. But it's the law, almost like the law of averages and numbers. When you're 1 out of a million versus being 100,000 out of a million, the weight is different. So I am 1 out of a million. There'll be 1,999,999 other white women who will get this opportunity before I get the opportunity. So when I do something, the impact is different because of how few, as we were talking about with Fannie, how few of us get that impact, get that opportunity. So if President Obama, he couldn't do certain things because he was the one of one. But all of the presidents were white. So if 10 of the white guys decided they were all going to be trifling, it wouldn't sully all the other presidents that happened because there's so many of them. But if there was only one, and the one that was let in does stupid stuff,
yes,
it is that one of one is 100%. Where 10 of 100 is only 10%, but it's 10 times the number of black people who did it. But it doesn't matter because relative to the whole, it's only 10%. But because we're only one, when we do it, it is 100% of us. So the numbers make it different. So I think that it's a nuanced argument based on access, opportunity, and to Anton's point, which I would absolutely agree, I think money and influence are two of the most significant deciding factors in how things are going to play out for you. If you are well connected and beloved. Perfect example. Bishop Jakes, I don't want any of the stuff that they're saying about him to be true.
Correct.
I don't want any of it to be true because I adore him.
Correct.
If it was true, would it change your view?
It would so that one would hurt my feelings.
It would hurt. Yeah,
that would really hurt my feelings. If that's true,
yeah.
I can honestly say to you, I adore him, and that one would hurt.
That would hurt.
But again, being beloved, what we also know is black people are forgiving people.
We are.
We are.
Okay.
We are.
So can you be hurt and forgive him?
So here's the caveat that would be true for me. I can forgive you if everybody was an adult. If anybody was a child that you were doing this stuff to, it's different. That's my line. My line is when you didn't have the opportunity to choose for yourself, when you didn't have the autonomy to decide that this is what I want to participate in, to me that sin is different because now it's predatory, which is different than two grown folk making terrible decisions. I can get over I could forgive two grown folk making two terrible decisions. But when an adult violates a child, that's different for me. That's where my line is.
For me, I don't even look at it as an issue of forgiveness because that's between you, your wife, and God. So I don't even get into that. But would I see you differently? I probably would see you differently if you did something to a parishioner as well. Because to me, I see them as
that's predatory also.
It's predatory
because of your power versus
your power, right? Yep. It's something about those who you are in a position of power over them. When you are in that type of position, I kind of see you differently when you do something to that person.
Fair. Is Fanny predatory then?
No, because truthfully,
they were grown. Totally.
But she had power over her.
Yeah, but
the question is, were they already in a relationship before she even appointed him?
That chronology is different. And then on top of that, he's not even remotely suggesting that he did not want this.
No, because he could have been an aggressor.
Yeah, like this, he could absolutely pursue that. And more likely than not, he did. Because
he had something to gain.
He had
everything.
Power is sexy. So powerful women are sexy even when they're not necessarily beautiful. If they walk in that power well, it's attractive. So that same anointing that we said that the anointing attracts, power is the world's version of anointing.
People love confident people.
Oh, it's because confidence is sexy.
Yeah, people love confident people.
Oh, no question about it.
Like if you could walk in a room and you own the room, people love that.
But that's part of the thing. That's part of Trump's magic, and it was also part of Obama's magic, is that both of them opposite sides of a coin, but both of them know who they are, so they walk with a level of knowingness. When they step into a space, they command a space for two totally different reasons, but it's still a confidence in oneself. Like Trump knows exactly who he is. He's not in denial about that whatsoever. And he's totally comfortable with utilizing that in every form or fashion to his benefit.
You don't think that Fannie and Mike had a conversation at some point, even if the chronology was...
You mean Nathan?
Nathan, I'm sorry.
Yep.
They had a conversation at some point, even if the chronology was he got the position before they entered into a relationship. You don't think that they had
I'm sure they did.
At some
and
point?
I think that
like,
they probably...
we can't do this.
They probably... Not that we can't do this. I think what they probably did is, if it ever goes wrong, because that's how you think when you're in that.
Yes.
We're going to be very clear about the fact that this is the point in which you guys separated. We're not doing anything that... Because it's true. They're not violating anything in terms of... From an affair perspective, if they were in fact separate... He was in fact separated at the time. She doesn't have that to worry about. That if he was in fact picked after, at least from a public perspective, picked before the relationship began, then that also makes it a bit different. So I think what they probably did was if in case in cases of emergency, break glass. This is what our break glass plan is going to be. This is what it is that we would say. I think that they would have had that conversation.
And they said that, and it's still possible she could lose the
It
case.
still could happen, but it gives them enough grounds to kind of fight it and debate it. I think that I would imagine that they were too intelligent to not consider those things. They just decided what they wanted of each other was worth the risk.
And let me clear something up. Not lose the case, but have to be recused from the case.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you straight up as an attorney. Should she recuse herself from the case?
What would you say?
You talking about Anton. So if you asking Anton.
Not you.
Yeah,
her.
She's not going to recuse herself.
No,
She sure won't.
Do you think she should? See, the fact that you're pausing,
I am because
that gives red meat to his base.
Because the question that you're asking is based upon Anton's morality. Mm-hmm. You can't separate Anton from who he is.
Yeah, you can't separate because they're one and the same for you.
Yeah, they're one and the same for me. I can't separate my morality from my legality. It's all the same to me. Mm-hmm. And so I would recuse myself, but here's the thing: I would not put myself in that situation
in the first place.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because I already know there's about 5,000 eyes on me. And your mama, just in case you're looking. And so, yes, I said your mama. And so, yeah, but I already know there are 5,000 eyes on me. And so I'm already mindful, which drives me crazy that she was not mindful that people are going to be ultra critical of anything that you do because of the position you have. Forget the case.
Right.
Forget the case, Kevin. I'm just saying, just because of who you are in the lane that you occupy, or the space that you occupy, in the lane that you walk in, people are going to be ultra critical of you. But here's the problem. She's in a predominantly minority county that elected her. And so black people being in positions of influence and affluence is normalized for her where she is. So that may not have been a mindset for her, as far as I got all these eyes on me who are looking to take me down simply because I'm a black female. But where I am and where I sit, I know there are people that had issues with me simply because of my race. Because I had jokers to say some things, and you'd be amazed at who may have said some things. And I was really polite, and I did not shake them when they said it.
How nice of you!
How nice of me! But I'm telling you, you'll be amazed of some of the things that people will say and do. Because when I came in, I broke up some of that old boys network type stuff, dismantled that stuff, because I said, oh no, not up in here. Things will not be the same. People who are in positions will earn those positions. People who are getting cases and representing people, you will be treated the same way that everybody else will be treated. It won't be based upon who you are and your entitlement and your influence and all that. No. These are the things that we're going to use, the factors, to settle these cases. What they did and their criminal background. That's what I'm going to be looking at. And I don't care who's representing them and all that, and whether they got money and all that. I could care less about that. That gets you enemies.
It does.
That gets you critics.
So let me ask a broader question.
Wait, can I answer your question though? Because you didn't ask me.
I'm sorry.
Whether or not she should recuse herself.
Yes.
And my answer is no. And the reason, and if this were a different case, I might have said yes. But the reason I'm saying no is because how dare you ask me to recuse myself while this man is able to run for president after being convicted of multiple things, and 70 or 70+% of the base said even if he's criminally convicted,
They'll
that
still
he
vote for
still could be president, you are not going to hold me to, because I actually didn't do anything wrong.
Criminal.
Okay, like nothing criminal happened here. You may question my judgment, but nothing criminal happened here. So, quite frankly, if I were all of these folks who actually wanted to do some questionable stuff, every time somebody came to me about you shouldn't have done this and you shouldn't have done that, I said, so why am I being held to a higher standard than our president? So are you telling me that you no longer support our president? Is that what you're saying? Because the people who are going to come for you are the same people who are supporting him. So you tell me if I should step down if he should step down. If you think that he should stay, I should stay. That would be the end of my argument. We're not going to have this conversation.
But you doing it from a PR. See, that's that PR in you.
Because you're not getting away with that with me.
You're not getting it right. That's that PR.
If it were a different case, I probably would say she should recuse herself just to not have the shade on it.
Right.
But quite frankly, I would, if she was calling me as crisis management and public relations on this, I would use this all day long, because you can't have it both ways. You can't tell me he's innocent and worthy of presidency and then question my ability and my judgment at the same time. You would never be able to have that argument with me.
But that
Never.
has been my argument for the show. It does play out differently. Right?
It does, because in some ways we let it play out differently.
It plays out
because the same thing happens even from a political perspective, where we give up who has the moral high ground because of somebody's behavior, somebody's this, that, and the other. And you don't have to. The Republican Party has chosen not to give up the moral high ground, even while having a candidate and former president.
I don't get that.
Who conducts themselves completely anti-biblical, and yet has the highest, strongest evangelical support of any president in American history.
But because they evangelical don't mean they saved.
Oh, no, I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying.
To me, I don't think they have the higher moral ground, because the church, the evangelical church has, in general sense, I'm speaking generally, has in many ways become a political party.
And that's what it is. That is definitely what it is now. It didn't used to be.
Yeah, it didn't used to be.
In that same kind of way, but it is now.
It has become a political versus a spiritual organization. And because of that, I don't think they have the higher ground.
I'm not saying they have it. I'm saying that they are not, even with everything that's happening, they're still not willing to give up the narrative of the higher moral ground.
Well, I would
they
say
still try to hold on to that moral high ground by going to very exclusive and myopic arguments, like we're only going to talk about abortion rights, and we're only going to talk about this, and it's literally like, I'm only going to talk about Anton's fingernail, and he's got an entire body, but because his fingernail is this color, and that's what I need the fingernail color to be, I'm going to vote for the whole man because of his fingernail color. And that's what's been happening politically inside of the party for some time now.
Because when they go there, I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe if you weren't so racist, then maybe somebody will come and listen to what you got to say. Because it's that same racism that says, oh, I want you to have a baby, but when the baby get here, you're like, you're on your own.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure that you don't get any type of benefits. Right. I'll make sure
you're pro-fetus, but you're not actually pro-life.
Come on. I'm pro-life, but yeah.
No, as in that's what that argument is. When I care about you in the womb, but I don't care about you when you come out, then what you're telling me is you're pro-fetus. You are not actually pro-life.
Absolutely.
And there's a difference.
There is a difference.
So, Fanny, let's play this out. She stays on. How do you think the case is going to play out?
I think she's going to win the case.
You think she's going to win? But will Trump's side be able to appeal based on the fact that because of the judgment?
Anyway, one way or the other, they'll be able to appeal. What they're going to do is they're going to throw shade on the results to suggest that this was a farce and that it was not legitimate. That's what's going to happen.
But here's the problem. This is why I love the law. Because here's the problem. The facts are the facts. You can't get away from the facts. And the beautiful thing about this is most likely it will be televised because it's state court. And secondly, the beautiful thing about it is there is a transcript of all the evidence, of all the facts. So you can create the narrative that you want to create. All I got to do is just read the transcript and be able to say X, Y, Z occurred. You did this, you did that. And then these people who are going to come forth and turn state evidence, they're going to say X, Y, Z. And this is what he did. And this is what he told me to do. This is what he directed me to do. And this is what he controlled. And this is how he intimidated the situation. This is how he obstructed justice. All that stuff is going to come out. This case is going to the Supreme Court. You heard it here.
And I would just like to go on record so that you could hear it here also. It will not influence more than 10 votes.
There you go.
I was about to say.
Just know,
what's
know.
the fall?
With all of that,
There's no
this is
fallout.
not going
No.
to impact him negatively. If anything, it might actually benefit him.
Well, I will
With
say
the
this.
people who
I will
already-
say this. It
already
won't
want him.
impact him influence-wise, but if he's convicted, the Constitution will prohibit him from being able to run. So if
He's not going to be convicted before November, though.
and
They're
that's the
trying,
problem. They're
right?
trying.
They were trying to make that
They're
happen, but the
trying.
likelihood
The
of that
likelihood
is not high.
It's not going to happen.
None of the case. That's his thing. Let's just delay.
And here's the other piece. If he becomes president and this case is pending, he will probably be able to push it out 4 more years because now he's president.
Right. Right.
And
Y'all
in
remember
4
saying,
more years,
let me ask you
know.
this.
We'll see.
Because I want to go back to Fannie for a minute. Y'all remember the saying that we grew up on? You got to be twice as good.
Yep.
Do you both still believe that today?
Yes.
Yes.
You got to be twice as good?
Yes.
Yes.
How so? Because what you all just told me was as long as you know the right people and you're in positions of power, that's what saves you.
Yeah, but
But I can't-
you had to be twice as good to even get to those places.
You beat. Oh God! You took it. The
Yep.
words out
Just
my
to get
mouth.
to those places.
You can't even get to that
Yep.
position
Until you're
unless
twice as good.
You didn't expect it to be that quick.
For black people. No. For black people.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're saying.
I mean, it's just
That's
that
exactly what we're
simple.
saying.
You got to be twice as good just
Yep.
to even get there.
Because, like, perfect example. Like, and I don't say this with any kind of arrogance, but just stating the facts, right? With 2 PhDs, I still have to sit down and negotiate my value against people who barely have a bachelor's degree.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about whether or not I should be paid the same amount to do this work. You've got 1 degree, less experience, but because there is already an acceptance and affinity and expectation that this role was going to be filled by this person or someone who matches this, I have to come to the table with stacks on stacks on stacks to be able to say that I'm actually worth twice as much as that. But we're even having a conversation about whether or not I'm going to be able to make just that. That kind of nonsense is what we're talking about. So yes, I may be the only woman of color inside of that room, but I'm not making as much as I should or could command sometimes just by virtue of the fact that I am a woman of color. I can't tell you how many times I sit down at tables that I'm like, in any other universe, we would not all be sitting at the same table. And what I mean by we would not be sitting at the same table is that my credentials and experience would make you all unnecessary at this table. You people shouldn't be here, not me. You people shouldn't be here. But you're sitting at this table because we live in this kind of America. And even sitting at this table, I'm still the one having to prove my worth at the table, while you who didn't even finish college are making 3 times the amount just because of how the system has a way of carrying you on the wave. So we do, just to get to the table, we have to be twice as good. Then what happens once we get there is maybe a different conversation based on influence and connection and some of those other things. But it's just to get there that is hard enough as it is.
So, and I know this is not about Fannie. This is going into entertainment and media. You can appreciate the entourage when she came out and basically said that for The Color Purple, she was unfairly.
Let me get this.
Go ahead.
She was unfairly paid or compensated.
I can appreciate the sentiment, but I could not appreciate her timing, because her timing may have caused some issues
For
with
the
the
movie.
success
Of the movie. Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you were on a assignment to promote the movie, which also promotes your visibility.
Right.
You got to choose and pick the timing of your battle as well as which battles you will fight. So I don't have a problem with how she felt and what she had to say, but her timing may have actually hurt her in the long run. And
it hurt more than just her.
Yeah, and it hurt it hurt everybody because a lot of people are saying people did not go to see the movie
because of
that issue.
Yep.
So she should have waited until the movie already had come out?
Yeah, I would have waited. I would have waited because here's the thing.
There was no downside to letting it be successful. Yep.
Yeah,
you could have talked about it afterwards.
For her,
yep.
You can still get your message out
and
still share what you have to share. But the thing about it, you got the movie premiere, you have all the publicity that's surrounding the movie, you have you don't know how the contract may have been written. The contract could have been written for some people to get the
paid
proceeds
on the back end.
On the back end.
Yep.
So all of that comes into play. She impacted more people than just herself. And then here's the other piece. You got the award season coming up. All these people getting nominated for awards. You don't think that people take that into consideration when they're voting for who they want to win these awards? All that come into play. So you're hurting people who are getting nominated potentially. All that comes into play. It's just multi-layered. I don't have a problem with what she had to say, and I definitely don't have a problem with her saying it. Just be mindful of your timing because it's not just about you.
Yep.
I agree to that.
Yep.
But do you kind of agree that that's kind of the mix as a black woman, always feeling like you got to fight for what's yours, that is just not the respect that should be given to you based on who you are?
I won't say always, because the truth is that sometimes it works for me as well. Because you expect so little, sometimes people expect so little of us as people of color that they're amazed by the fact that you can string an intelligent sentence together. Because I think so little of you. So sometimes I have to be honest that it's almost like a sneak attack, or, the being able to have that sort of undercover or covert ability to get things done is because you didn't see me coming. So it can work to my benefit in some ways. But so I just want to acknowledge it to be fair, fully fair in my statement. But there are plenty of times where it works against me, like plenty of times. But and admittedly, if I was not so white socialized, European socialized, I would struggle significantly more than I do, because I have other black female business owners and colleagues and friends that do not get any of the access that I get. But I get that access because of my socialization, which in essence is the equivalent of being able to be multilingual. I can culturally speak multiple languages. I have affinities and appreciations and knowledge of things that are considered to have social grace. And people are impressed by the way that I communicate because it sounds like things that they heard in their household or inside of the boardroom, and heard it from a white voice. It sounds like that. And so I'm able to do certain things as a byproduct of that socialization. And I have peers and colleagues who are unequivocally smarter than me, who have a deeper knowledge base and experience base and all of those things. But because they don't come in a white socialized package, they'll never make it into those spaces. And I know they'll never make it into those spaces. So unless they build out in black business, they will not penetrate the spaces that will get them the kinds of opportunities that I get, just by virtue of the fact that I know how to speak the culture fluently.
So then that goes back to what I said earlier. It's not about being twice as good, because there are people who work harder, right? But it's about access. It's about understanding how to get into those spaces.
But you still had to be
You have to work. You have to work.
Right, but she still had to be twice as good to even get to the position that she's in, to have the opportunity to take advantage of the assets. So what she's saying is, yes, there may be people who may have, greater knowledge base or a greater understanding of whatever the particular subject matter may be. And yes, they may be wonderful, but still they had to be twice as good as well. And she's not saying her ability is diminished. She's just saying that but there's always somebody out there smarter. There's always someone out there that has a greater knowledge base than you in whatever area that you may be in. However, I still personally had to be twice as good as maybe my white counterparts to be able to even navigate in the same spaces that they navigate in.
And it's not just about being twice as good. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yes. So if you're saying that there are other factors associated,
that's what we got to tell our kids.
We would definitely agree that there are. It's not just how much
working
you know.
twice as hard.
It's also
some other stuff that go into
packaged
this.
in too.
Judgment decisions as well.
Which is why Fanny's situation is so baffling.
Because one of the things that I tell my mentees, I share with them all the time, it's not just about the choices. Understand that the choices that you make, you can control those, but the consequences that come as a result of those choices, you often cannot. And because you cannot control those consequences, you need to be mindful of unintended consequences before you act. Because once you do it, you can't take it back.
Correct.
So yeah, it's judgment. Is a lot of things that got me to where I am is because I was fortunate enough to make good judgment decisions. But guess what? There was also grace in areas where I did not make good judgment decisions, and God helped re-navigate me to where I need to be concerning the path that I was supposed to take. So, but I didn't make a judgment decision that would eradicate any progress or any advancements that were around the corner.
And that's the point I'm trying to make when we have conversations with our kids today, right? Work is one part of it.
Yeah, but it's not all of it.
It's not all of it.
It is not.
And we got to give our kids the whole story of how we got there. Now, I know we're coming up on the end of time, so real quick, is there any legal, like the bar in Georgia or Atlanta that could punish Fanny for her behavior?
Every state has a state bar, and that's how you're able to practice. You have to take the bar exam, and so there is a state bar, and that state bar also has a rules of ethics that you have to follow. And if someone files a bar complaint, is what they call it, then they will investigate that person and determine whether the allegations have some validity. And if so, the bar association will, or not association, the state bar will prosecute that person, and they could potentially have some type of consequence. Sometimes the consequence could be a public reprimand, a private reprimand. That consequence could be a suspension of your license. That reprimand could be revocation.
Yeah, you can be disbarred if it's significant enough. But I mean, it has to meet a very high threshold for that to ultimately
And I'm going to tell you what typically, this won't be it, but I'll tell you what would typically meet that threshold always. If you touch that money.
Yeah, and that's actually part of the reason why I think that in Mike Rowan's case, or the evidence that he was putting in, that's not the word I want for it, but submitting the evidence that he submitted. I think that's why they got into the expensive trips and the travel, is because they're trying to tie that money factor into it. Because it wasn't just about whether or not she was sleeping with him. It's what happened as a byproduct of the romantic relationship in order to try to meet some of those legal thresholds.
Right, because if they could show that the money was misappropriated, then you got her.
That changes the game.
That changes the game, because the bar will come for you for that. Anytime you touch money that you're not supposed to touch, the bar will absolutely come for you.
But that's no different than, it's the American standard. The mafia did not go down for all the murders. It went down for not paying the taxes.
Not paying the taxes.
Because America does not care almost
about
morality. But they do care about the money.
They care about the money. We are not a nation built on Christ.
Okay,
we are a nation with a whole bunch of demons. Can I just say that? And so, but when you touch the money, you touch the money and the kids.
Okay, you play with that money.
Money and the kids.
You can touch the kids. Depending upon who you are.
Yeah, but even when you touch the kids.
It just depends on what the situation is, because quite frankly, you know, some of the cases that in terms of child abuse and in terms of sexual child abuse, the time associated with that until more recently. You could get more time for killing a dog or abusing an animal than you could a child.
You could.
It's crazy, but that's how little we value the things that God values the most.
I was at a meeting and I brought up something about dog abuse. It came up. I was just it just came up, and the that came out of it like, oh no, and the
Michael Vick is still dealing with. He's never recovered from that dog fighting.
And I think we were talking about murder, like in the same.
Yep, and did not have the same response. You want to talk about things that don't get the same reaction?
It doesn't get the same response. People are more
and white
passionate.
People love their dogs.
Yes, they do. But they were more passionate. They were more passionate about the dog abuse and the dog murder than it was about some person.
Because people see dogs as purely good, but they ascribe some other stuff to humans.
That is true, but the other piece is we have become desensitized.
Oh yeah, to violence against each other. Yeah, against each other. Oh, for sure.
That's the issue.
For sure.
We become, as a nation, desensitized.
But we still cry at the puppy.
But we'll still cry about that puppy. We'll still cry about that puppy.
All right, real quick, we're almost out of time.
Yep.
Nostradamus of the court.
Oh Lord! Why I gotta be a Nostradamus?
Because you always
look. Was he a prophet? You know,
and he always accurately. You always accurately.
Call me Nathan.
He's like 10 for
Samuel.
10.
Call me Samuel.
Samuel or the court.
Not one word fell to the ground. Call me Samuel.
Samuel or the court.
Yes.
How is this case going to play out?
I think that she's going to be fine concerning the recuser issue. And I really believe that she has a significant amount of evidence based upon what has been unfolding with these state witnesses, turning state evidence. I think she has a very, very good shot. The problem is this. People bring their biases into the courtroom as jurors. And picking that juror is going to be a feat because can you truly pick 12 people who are going to make a unanimous decision and all 12 of them not be in some shape or form influenced concerning I love Trump and he can kill somebody in broad daylight in Times Square and I'm still backing him. That's going to be her biggest
challenge
issue and challenge. Will he get a not guilty? No. But could he get a hung jury? Very easily. That's where I think it's going to fall right there.
Okay. And you think the issue is more him than what she has done?
Oh, absolutely. Now, here's the problem now. Because we don't know what's out there.
Right.
Now, if something else pop off.
That could be a different conversation.
That could be a totally different conversation. And the truth of the matter is something could potentially pop out. And if it pop off, then I think that judge will absolutely recuse her and require her to remove herself. And that means another prosecutor. If another prosecutor get caught up in this case,
it's not going to make it.
You're not going to be able to recapture all of that institutional knowledge over all this time that she has had about this case and give it to another prosecutor. They're going to find themselves over their head.
All right.
We'll see if he's 10 for 10.
We'll see. He's predicted all of them so far.
He sure has.
So we'll see how
accurately.
This goes. We're out of time. Stay tuned and check out our bonus content on our social media outlets. That's where we really tell the truth about things that's going on, and you can really see how I'm mistreated and
how he hurt us.
Yeah, Professor
go to the bonus content.
Victimology.
Where you can see it all. Yes, we gotta run. Until next time, be blessed and be blessed in someone else. Peace.
Okay, I hope you loved it as much as we did. Thank you for joining us for another fire show for the crew. Listen, you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any streaming platform that you're using for your podcast. Share with a friend, expand the family. Listen, we're trying to do this thing with all of you as often as we possibly can. We're looking forward to you joining us again for our next show.